Hey friends, and welcome in to A Walk Through the Word, Daily Bread with Crystal Fry. I am your host, Crystal Fry, and our guest episode this week is packed full of raw and real life, and the reminder that there is more for us. Joining me on the podcast this week is Kristin Kurtz. Kristin is a saved by grace wife of 20 years with two incredible teenage boys. She accepted Christ as her Lord and Savior and was saved from a life of destruction, including drug and alcohol addiction. As a HOPE Igniter and Wonder Activator, Kristin helps the caged and captive woman break free to soar in her calling, communication, and connections. Throughout our conversation, Kristin openly shares her conversion story of how she came to Christ, the difficulty in being unequally yoked with her husband after 20 years, and how powerfully God is working in her life and the lives of those that she impacts every day. I hope you enjoy this conversation, and don't forget to check out the show notes, to connect with Kristin on social media, and to check out her podcast, Hope Unlocked. All right, friends, here we go. God's Word is powerful. The missing link is our identity in Christ. When we know who we are and who He created us to be, that is when we can truly walk in freedom. You are never alone. There is hope, and that hope is Jesus Christ. Kristin, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's such a joy to have you here. I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have and for our listeners to get to listen in on this incredible conversation. But before we jump into all of that, give us a little bit of an introduction for anyone who may not be very familiar with you.
Yeah, I've got dogs, as you can hear, maybe. I am Kristin Kurtz. I live in Minnesota. I have two boys who are, they're 14 and 17. I have a husband. We've been together for 27 years, which is crazy, and just celebrated our 21-year anniversary on April Fool's Day because we're fools. Got married in the Dominican Republic. Beautiful day. Whereas the other day we had 12 inches of snow. So it was very different from our wedding day, but I am a Christian life coach. I like to say I'm a spiritual midwife, a prophetic advisor. The Lord calls me a woman of wonder. I just love getting out in nature and seeing Him in all the details. Many people have gone hiking with me. They're like, wow, you see things I don't see. And I'm like, yes, the Lord points things out. I tend to be like a wordsmith, and the Lord's also called me a locksmith. To help unlock people in their career, in their calling, in their purpose. So I guess that would be a really short snippet of me. I've had a crazy life of being saved from addiction when I was 25, and we could share more about that later. But I'm still here. I feel like I'm on life number 17, which stands for victory, and I'm just taking it one day at a time right now. So yeah.
I love it. And we are definitely going to get into a lot more as we get into the episode. But before we unpack some of that, or perhaps leading us into some of that, I get the joy of asking my favorite question to ask all guests, and that is, how has your faith impacted your life?
It's everything. Like I said, I don't believe that I would be alive right now had I not been saved and actually brought to church initially begrudgingly from my sister. But the moment I walked into church, this particular church, and that particular day, I was at such a rock bottom that the Lord got a hold of me, and literally my faith became everything. Got saved, had two miscarriages immediately after, and I was just like, I thought this was going to be like a Cinderella life now, because I've just had so many trials throughout my life, and it's that anchor. Our faith is our anchor, especially looking around the world right now. Like, I don't know what I would do without the Lord in my life, So I like I said, I don't believe I would be alive right now. I don't believe, a next generation would have come through me because of that. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to cry yet. It's
We'll
too
save that
early.
for later. Yeah, we'll save
Yeah.
that for later.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this walk of faith that you've been on, because you
Mhm.
didn't grow up in the church,
Mm.
all of those things. So this was something that happened a little bit later for you. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about like how that actually came to be.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I often tell people I had like a Saul to Paul conversion, but I didn't kill anybody, thankfully. So, um, like I said, I kind of was at this rock bottom, about like kind of the year after we got married. Our relationship was really built on like partying and, just being crazy, from the time we were 18. And we got married, and then I just kept sensing that there was more, but I didn't know what that was. And I honestly, like, this sounds terrible, but I hated Christians. I hated people who would come up to me. And I had a friend, we'd be out drinking, and he'd be like, God loves you. And I would say things back to him that weren't very nice. And um, so my sister, I was, I actually didn't talk to my family for a long time, but she started kind of pursuing me and asked if I wanted to go to church. Said I would, but it was the day after Halloween, which for anybody who's a partier, you take any holiday and you just make something out of it. So I ended up not going. And she was so sweet and had that tenacity to still ask again. Whereas I think some people might just be like, whatever, like she ditched me, whatever. So she asked again. And in between that week, I had just, again, some really rock bottom type thoughts, and, just was like, do I want to live anymore? Like, is it worth it? Like, there just wasn't, I didn't feel a lot of, um, well, obviously I didn't have any faith. So I was just kind of riding the rails at that point. And I did end up going with her. I believe it was that following weekend. And like, I just felt like something was just different there, even though prior to that, I thought that anytime I walked into a church that the building would burn down. Like, I literally thought the building would burn down because I was so bad. Like, I won't get into all of like, and I didn't do anything like criminal, except I did get a DWI when I was 20. And yet I kept driving drunk. So I won't get into all of that. But I walked in and I just kept saying to my sister, like, this is really weird. Because, people were singing, they were joyful, they had their hands raised. And then the pastor, and honestly, I don't remember what the sermon was about, but it was what my heart needed. And I just kept saying to my sister again, like, this is really weird. Like, he's talking to me like he knows what I need right now. And I would say within 2 weeks, I gave my life to Christ. And that was November of 2020. I was going to say 2003, 2003. And then the following St. Patrick's Day in 2004. No, I can't say that. 2004. I actually got baptized, which is such a stark reality from St. Patrick's Day of 2003, because I am very Irish and I enjoyed St. Patrick Day up until that point. So it was just a beautiful, like, submersion, and then being transformed from, looking back that year before, like, such a stark reality. So that was the beginning, and I was so on fire. Now, I thought, gosh, this would be amazing. Like, my husband needs to experience this too, you know? And I think the most beautiful thing that happened was I was immediately delivered from drinking drugs. I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. It was just gone. The last thing that I kind of hung on to was just a trucker's mouth, which my sister was like, you might want to consider. I mean, she was just kind of discipling me a little bit in that area. And then I got delivered of that. Now, mind you, some things kind of blooper out once in a while. I think it happens to everybody. But yeah, I was just like, my husband's named Adam, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to this Christian bookstore and buy him a men's Bible. Like, I was so on fire, and he pretty much like threw it in my face. And so, like I said, we've been married 21 years. I've been saved for 20, and we're still unequally yoked, which is very challenging. So that's where, again, faith comes in a powerful way. And just I wouldn't choose this walk. That's why I always say to women who are not married, like, avoid marrying an unbeliever. Like, I think a lot of times women believe that they can change their men to like convert them,
Yeah,
whether it's before they get married or after. I'm kind of going on another pathway right now for a moment,
that's
but
okay.
it's really important to me, just to get that message out. And I'm believing he's going to come soon. If he could get a hold of me, like, he could get a hold of him too. So it's just a matter of time. So that's the very short, maybe I made it longer than it needed to be, story of kind of how I came to be saved and truly rescued from
And
destruction.
I think that's a beautiful story to tell, because there are so many people who face the same type of situation that you were in, who, have maybe feel like they've gotten kind of past that point of no return, or, they've just become so involved and so immersed in this other type of life that they don't even realize,
Yeah,
yeah, you can still turn around. Like,
yeah,
yes, you can still, like, you have breath in your lungs. You're not too far gone. Like,
hmm,
and
yeah,
I'm so grateful that you shared that, because
yeah,
it's a testament to the power of the fact that nothing is too big for God. And
hmm,
again, I think a lot of times we look at our own personal situation and we think, well, God can't forgive this, or, I'm not this, or I'm not that, or all of these things that I've done. And friends, look, our listeners on the podcast know bits and pieces and parts of my story, and, to understand that when God decided that he was going to say, Crystal, I want you to we're going to move into ministry. And I was like, that's like the funniest thing I've ever heard. You must be joking. Like,
right,
don't you know what I've done, who I used to be? And
yeah,
his response was, yeah, I do. And
hmm,
that's why I'm going to use you,
yeah,
because yeah, there are a lot of things back there, but you are not back there anymore. And people
hmm,
need to understand that no matter where they are, they can move forward. They don't have
yeah,
to stay back there. And so I think that's such a powerful thing to share, to let other people know that, look, this is where I was.
hmm,
And this is what God has done. Has it been a rainbow walk? No. Nope.
nope.
Haven't seen any unicorns. Have not, like
I see a
the
lot of
clouds.
butterflies.
Yeah, I do see butterflies. The clouds still come, and there are still
Hmm,
difficulties. There are still challenges that we walk through every day, but we
hmm,
walk through it in a different place. We walk
yeah,
through it with something that you were missing from your life previous, which is hope.
hmm,
We
yeah,
walk through it with the hope, because we know what happens next. We of
amen.
all of the things that happen in this life, we know what comes at the end. And so that's
Mhm,
where we can keep our hope. And I think
mhm,
it's beautiful that you share about your husband as well, because
yeah,
again, there are, nothing is too big for God.
no,
And I love that. Like, I can see your faith and your hope for that. And we
yeah,
know that God's timing is his own, and it can frustrate us to no end, as
yeah,
when things don't happen and the timing that we think they should.
yeah, yes, yes,
but but holding on again to that hope and to that faith, and just knowing
yeah,
that he can. And that is one of the things, like, we
yeah,
like to get oh, what's the word I'm looking for? We like to get, I'm going to say, confused in
mm,
thinking that something is out of God's reach.
right,
And really what we need to do is stop and remember that God created the entirety of all that we see.
Yeah.
And so what makes you think that, and this has been a little bit of a humbling experience for me at different points in my life, like what
Yeah.
makes you think if God created everything that you see,
Hmm.
what makes you think that he can't handle your little problem? Because
Right.
because
Right.
all of our problems, no matter how big we think they are, all of our problems are small to God.
Totally. Totally.
They matter to him, but they are
Hmm.
not anywhere near insurmountable. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I've
so
often been like, because I'm very analytical, I'm like, so Lord, like it's been 20 years. Maybe it would have been kind of cool if he was saved like 10 years ago. Like, wouldn't that be really nice? I was just saying this to a friend the other day. He's shown me, I just love, fitness and wellness and all the things. And he showed me that it's weight training, it's WAIT training. And
wow.
I recently just heard my spirit long suffering. And I shared that with a friend, and she said, that's actually one of the fruits of the spirit.
Yep.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know it was the same as patience in the New King James Version. I don't read the New King James personally, but that's the equivalent of patience in that Bible
Hmm.
version. And I was like, wow, long suffering, because it can feel like, truly, it can feel like suffering. I'm not
Indeed.
going to lie. I'm not going to
Indeed.
lie. Um, but I know that, again, knowing that he got a hold of me and was able to get a hold of, so many of my friends and family and just people that I've talked to along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody's too far gone.
Exactly. Exactly. And I will say this just for anyone who's watching or listening and kind of maybe feels like they may be in the same type of situation. And this is bringing a little bit of, oh goodness, thank God, I'm not the only one type of thing. Um, One of the things I will also say is don't um don't think that they aren't watching.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's not just for a spouse, but for children, for family
Yeah.
members, for people, for people in general. Like
Yeah.
they may not say anything. um they may not have a conversation about it. They may not ask questions or anything like that, but they are watching and listening. And that's one of the beautiful things, because it gives us the opportunity to really be able to be that love,
Hmm.
and be that faithful kind of love regardless of the situation. And
Yeah.
so that is my one little piece of encouragement for anyone who may feel that they're in a similar situation, is just to like continue to live out your faith.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
that's one of the most fantastic ways to show other people the love of Christ, is to live it.
Yes.
I've often said, like, when you walk into your work, you take God everywhere with you. Take him,
Hmm.
everywhere that you go. That doesn't mean that you walk around and you're like, hey, have you read this verse of scripture? Like,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
but
Yeah.
the way that you respond,
Yeah.
to different situations, the way that you decide to handle things differently, just, and all of those different things, the words that come out of your mouth, all of those
Hmm.
things can show people that there is something other than what they're currently experiencing. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
my piece of
Amen.
encouragement for the day.
Totally. I mean, it's he gave me a very simple reminder. It's just serve fruit. Serve
Yes,
the fruits of the spirit. And I almost try to remember it as like a fruit basket. Just like I'm bringing my fruit basket with me.
that's right.
I don't
Everywhere
do
I
it
go.
perfectly. I've got bruises on some of my fruit that, need a little more help than others, but that's part of our sanctification process, and I feel like
Absolutely.
sometimes when we get bumped up against, or like that sandpaper, even like sandpaper people sometimes can help, grow us in our fruits.
Absolutely.
I have to repent a lot, because there is a lot of there's a lot of polarity even within my own home. So yeah, anyways.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I get it. I completely get it. And one of the awesome things about that is, especially when we encounter sandpaper people. I like that terminology because one, it reminds me that, what is the purpose of sandpaper? Is to smooth out something that is
Yeah.
rough. And so oftentimes we encounter people like that, not necessarily for their benefit, though they may have some benefit from the interaction with us, but more often than not, it's for our benefit. It's to help us, fine and smooth some of those rougher edges. And
Mhm.
friends, listen, I learned a lesson a long time ago, and I hope this doesn't sound horrible to anyone. I hope no one takes it the wrong way, but I used to pray for patience all the time. Oh, Lord, please give me
Yeah.
patience. Lord, please give me patience. And then I would end up in the longest line in the grocery store with the slowest cashier, with a person who had the most problems with their order in the cart.
Yeah.
And I would get so frustrated. And it took like multiple times of that for me to realize, Crystal, you
Yeah.
keep praying for patience. So
Mhm.
God is putting you in situations where you can
Yeah.
utilize
Yes.
patience.
Yeah.
Like that is how
Yes.
you grow those fruits of the spirit.
Mhm.
And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm just not going to pray for patience anymore because I don't think I could,
Yeah. Right. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, but we find ourselves in those types of situations to help grow
Mhm.
us and to
Mhm.
produce better fruit,
Yes.
more whatever word you want to put in there, but to
Mhm.
produce fruit that is, pleasing, I guess,
Yeah.
maybe is a good word to say about it. So,
Yeah.
so Kristen, how have you, because you're a Christian life coach now. So
Mhm.
tell me, how did you get into that? Like, what were you doing, and how did you transition into being a Christian life
Yeah.
coach?
Well, it's kind of a funny story, and I'll try to make it pretty short. So, as I mentioned, I've always been into like health and wellness. Even since I was a kid, I went sideways with it. Just anorexia, like all the things. Things that are not helpful. And that was my oldest. Yeah. So it's funny. So 2013, I saw a post on Facebook. This girl was like, "Hey, anybody want to be a health and wellness coach?" Blah blah blah. So I got into this business. I since left in 2017, but I thought, well, I had a friend that was kind of running alongside me with it, and she had gone through this particular program um, for Christian coaching, and I thought, wow, I would love to actually be a real coach, not just a pseudo coach and to actually learn the ins and outs of it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so good. I feel like I've been coaching people my whole life. I've been like, I go deep with people. Like that's kind of mm, who I am. Like there's no real surface level conversations. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. It was much different than I thought it would be because coaching is about asking powerful questions like what you're doing here today to draw out the golden people. So it was a new paradigm for me. Back in 2017, I went through this particular uh, coaching program. And so I was doing that alongside working full time. I think it was actually kind of a setup, the timing as well. My dad passed away a week after I graduated. So I actually ended up basically grief coaching my mom. And I
Mm,
still, even 6 years later, at times, am grief coaching her. So there was a little break there, just so much going on. Like I was all excited to like go it like full in. And then that happened. It just kind of threw me off course for a while. And then I had a couple practicum clients. One of them I'm still working with, 6 years later, which is beautiful. And but again, I was still working full time with kids, busy schedules, and found myself coaching people at work. So, I called it ninja coaching. They didn't know they were getting coached, and that I would like be like, I used coaching. I'll call tactical skills. In the workplace that I was in, that was very volatile and challenging and stressful. So he like had me kind of set up timing wise for that. And that would be the long explanation of how I got into it. It's a beautiful. I don't always like to use the word coach, but it is what's kind of known out there in the world. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you were able to take it in. I actually did the same thing with in my corporate job. I had
yeah,
employees that reported directly to me. And so, what better way to help people? Because one, like I always wanted to see them grow. Like I would tell them, like, oh, we love working for you. I'm like, that's so awesome. Like, I don't want you to work for me forever. Like there's
yeah,
something more in you, and I
yes,
want you to be able to elevate beyond where you are right now. So I'm so glad that you love, that you love being here on our team and we have a great environment, and
yeah,
like that's amazing. And thank you so much for that feedback. But at the same time, like you're not meant to stay here.
yeah.
Like there is more than
There's more.
just doing this. And so I love that, kind of ninja coaching, like they don't even know like you don't even know what's happening to you right now.
Yeah, right.
But it's
Yeah,
done with such a beautiful intention,
yeah,
to really that desire to help other people grow
mhm,
into who they were created to be.
yeah,
And how rewarding it is to actually see, when you start to see the light bulb go on and people
yeah,
like, wow, hmm, I
yeah,
can,
right.
expand beyond the limitations that I had set on myself. Like I
Mhm.
I can, do these things. It's
Yes,
like you absolutely can.
totally. Yes, and I love that you said there is more because that was like my heart's cry when I was working in a corporate position. Like, there's more. And I would kind of even interview people around me. Like one lady, she would work, I don't even know how many hours a week, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you do to rest? What do you do to take care of yourself? Or what do
Recharge.
you enjoy
Yeah.
doing? And she said, well, I love going to movies. And I said, well, when was the last time you went to a movie? She couldn't even remember. So I
Mm,
said, when will you go to a movie? And she's like, I can do that. Like almost in her head, I can do that.
yes,
So
you
she
can.
planned to go to a movie and I held her accountable.
Absolutely.
And everything changed from there. I mean, just a simple like, so what do you do to rest? What do you do to, outside of these walls, your cubicle, or as I like to call it, a cage,
Yeah.
there's more. I like to say there's more. It's time to soar.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so I was kind of blown away. I mean, it doesn't surprise me in those environments that people can get so entrapped, literally, to getting it all done and
Yeah.
then losing themselves.
And
So I
isn't it
won't, yeah.
amazing how it's questions that unlock, the
Mhm.
response in people,
Yeah.
and being able to see just by a small shift in perspective,
Mhm.
that light bulb moment of, oh, I
Yeah.
mean, because we do, human beings, we can get into a routine, and that is what we do. We kind of turn into autopilot um
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I'll say
Totally.
people. My brain guy
Yeah.
gave me a lot of creative words there, but
Yes.
we'll just say autopilot people.
Yeah.
And we don't actually realize, because we don't
Mhm.
look up to see, what is going on around us. We're
Yeah.
just very focused here and doing this. This is what I do when I wake up, and this is what I do now. Friends, nothing wrong with routine. Routines
Right.
can be definitely helpful, especially if you need that structure, and some people need that more
Mhm.
than others. Totally
Yes.
all for it. But we get into a rut of
Yeah.
routine,
Yeah.
and we lose sight of the fact that we were not created simply to wake up and go to work and come home, and wake up
Mhm.
and go to work and come home, and wake
Yeah.
up and go to work and come home and then die. Like
Right.
we were meant
Yes.
to live,
Mhm.
and then one day we'll get called home, like,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
the in between birth and death, you are supposed to have life. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people, myself included, I definitely was in that, well, I didn't see a way, you
Yeah.
know, I was definitely that person who worked all the time, different stages in my corporate career.
Yeah.
I I would work all day, and then I would come home and answer emails at night. Or I would,
Yeah.
I would be working on another project at home. Like I would
Yeah.
just all
Yeah.
the things. And it's very easy as we're chasing that corporate whatever, that
Hmm.
next promotion, that next whatever, the next piece of validation from man,
Right.
to forget that there's so much more inside of us that God is calling us to bring forth.
Yes. Yes. Totally. And that's like I have such a heart right now for these. I actually like see these women like when I'm visualizing like who are the women that I'm like wanting to go rescue. They're like in cubicles. And I actually did a Facebook Live the other day. I was on a walk and usually things kind of stir up in me. And I just heard like life as we know it. That was my title. And we're kind of conditioned like what do you want to be when you're grown up,
Oh,
when you're like
yeah.
5, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? Then you get to high school and it's like, where are you going to college? What are you going to school for? Like it's very much like laid out for you almost, unless you're one who kind of breaks the system a little bit. You go to college. I've just been thinking about this a lot lately. You go to college. Um, Honestly, I feel like an 18-year-old is too young to really decide
To know.
how they want
Yeah.
to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a college degree. I could be off a little bit there, but go to college, and I just feel like so many they can get very stuck in maybe a particular job. Like, let's just say somebody goes to school to be a doctor because that's the biggest dollar amount that, on the sliding scale of how much you can make. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, but are they really passionate about being a doctor by the time they're 40 and 50? Or are they just doing it for the money? So you
Right.
get to that point and you're like, am I just stuck? Like, do I even know anything else? Do I have anything else in me that is worthy? You know? So I've just been really contemplating a lot of these people and teachers, and not to say that people don't like what they do, but I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that really never discovered who God created them to be outside of what the world told them that they were created to be. So that's what I'm
Absolutely.
passionate about. I'm like, let's go find these like hidden treasures within you.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
so important because, again, like we are told go to school, get good grades, do well in high school so that you can get into a good college,
Yeah.
go to a good college and then you'll get a good job and then you'll
Mhm.
have a good job and then you'll retire. And then, oh
Yeah.
my
Then you'll
goodness.
have your life. Then life
And
starts at
yeah, and
65.
there you go. And
Hmm.
that's that's certainly what I grew up with was
Yeah.
go to school, go to college, get a good job. Um, I didn't quite follow that track. I I went to school, I graduated. I met my husband while I was in high school and so I got married right out of high school, had my son. I wanted to be a housewife. Like that
Mhm.
1950s housewife, I had that down.
Yeah.
Like give me some heels and some pearls and I will vacuum and
Oh,
whatever.
I love
Like
that.
there was a whole mental image there. Didn't
Uh,
quite work like that, but I
yeah.
had a
Yeah.
whole mental image there.
For sure.
Um and I didn't actually get my college degree until I was in my 30s. And the only
Wow.
reason I did it then was because the the position that I was in for my corporate job would not allow me to be promoted to the next level without a 4-year
Mm.
college degree. Nothing
Wow.
about my ability to do the job. I was actually doing the job, but they wouldn't officially promote me and give me a bigger title and a bigger salary without a 4-year college degree. And so I begrudgingly did that because I felt like, well, this is my track, right? I'm going to be in
Right.
corporate. This is what I'm supposed to do. And if I want to elevate beyond this, then I have to go do this. So I did that. And I won't say that it was a waste because I don't believe that
Yeah.
anything is actually wasted,
No.
but it's not really, it's not something that I feel was actually necessary for my life.
Right.
And so through that, thankfully, I've been able to instill in my children, like, look, you need to decide
Yeah.
what it is that what areas you're interested in before you go jump headlong into something
Right.
that you feel like you can't back out of. Like, it's
Right.
okay to explore. It's okay to,
Yes.
test the waters and see, do I like this? Do I not?
Mhm.
Life is about figuring out what you don't like just as much as it is that you do like.
Totally.
And test those different things, try those different things, be open
Mhm.
and allow yourself to, so that you can find that the peace and the joy and the happiness that comes through you as you are doing whatever it is that you're called to do. So
Yes. Yes.
thankfully I've, have been able to kind of stop that parenting
Yes.
cycle with my
Yeah.
kids and be like, look, if you want to go to college, cool. If you don't want to go to college,
Right.
that's cool too. College isn't made for
Ex-
everyone. Everyone's not made for college, and
exactly.
that's okay. So
It
let's
is
figure out
okay. Yeah.
what you want to do, and let's figure out the best way for you to get there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm totally with you. Like my brain, like it's like he did again, deliverance again in this area for me. It's like, okay, yeah. So same thing with our boys. It's like, what do you love doing? Do you want to go to college? My now
Yeah.
17-year-old wanted to be a computer engineer. He declared that when he was like 8 or 9. He was putting computers together when he was 10, 12 years old. And now he doesn't want to do that. And it's okay. Like,
That's right.
he doesn't want to go to college right away after high school. And I'm like, great. What are you thinking? He's like, well, maybe an electrician or like the trades.
Yeah,
Go for it. Like, I
absolutely.
I I want you to be happy like with what you're doing, not put you on a track that is gonna just, I don't know.
That's going to
It
be
almost kind of steals
sensible.
time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
mhm.
the whole like, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
And being okay to say, I don't know yet.
yeah,
That I think is something that not only our children get lost on, because there is a ton of pressure for, even my youngest is in high school now, and they're very much like setting up his class schedule for what his, declared profession is. And I'm like, listen, you're in a unique position right now. He brought over
yeah.
some credits with him. And so he has more room to play with than, I'll say, the average high school student starting from scratch. I said, listen, you're in a unique position.
Mhm.
Do me a favor, and to the extent that you can, explore whatever you're interested in while you're here. If you
Yeah.
want to take a theater class, take a theater class. If you
Mhm.
want to take, a class in medical, take a class in medical. If you want to, all whatever
Yeah.
it is, use that to your advantage. Just listen,
Mhm.
they may have you on a track as like, but there's nothing that says that you can't change and
Right.
do something different.
Yeah.
So, and I'm teaching him how to advocate for himself and not just
Yeah.
accept what's coming in, but simply
Mhm.
but to look at what's coming in and say, is this really, does
Yeah.
this really feel like something I want to do? Because if it's not,
Right.
he's not going to do well in it, and he's going to be
Totally.
resentful about it. And what's the purpose of that
Mhm.
if it can be avoided?
Right. Same
And I
thing with
think
adults in
yeah, I was getting ready to say
jobs.
the same thing. Same thing with us as adults. Like,
Yes.
we lose the ability to truly evaluate, is this
Mhm.
something that I even enjoy? Is
Yeah.
this something that's getting me closer to where I really want to be?
Mhm.
Or am I just simply accepting the fact that I'm stuck here because I don't see a different way to do it?
Right. Right. Just going through the motions.
And that's where someone like you comes in and provides an invaluable service to ask those questions.
Yeah. And then to like literally I've had people like prophesy over me like you're a mama eagle and you kick the babies out of the nest to soar because that's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to go to the nest and to rest. I'm all about helping women rest so they can soar too. Like there's this great, I don't even like to say balance, but we need to really focus on
Harmony.
resting too.
It's
Harmony. Ooh, I
harmony.
like that. Ooh, I
Yes.
like it.
I
I used to
struggled with
say
the word
juggling.
balance for a long time, because balance means
Harmony.
both things are equal.
Yeah, and that's
Balance means all things are
impossible.
equal, and you're never going to have that. So I
No,
adopted the word harmony in its place, because that way you can
I
have
love it.
whatever you want, but it's all working in concert and
Like a
flow together.
flow.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, I'm gonna take that. Did you trademark that?
I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I've been saying juggling, but I'm not the best at juggling. So harmony is
even
great.
juggling to me
That's
gives an air of a little bit of
like,
stress, a little bit of,
yeah.
like
Am
having
I
to
going to
keep
drop this?
everything. Like
Yeah.
there's this, but
Yeah.
harmony is just
Harmony.
simply a flow.
I
So
love it. Thank you. Look at you.
absolutely. I know I'm here for all kinds of things.
I know. I love it. You got all the keys. I love it. All the keys. I love to say keys of revelation.
That's funny. My brain just gave me the vision of like a master key ring, like with all these keys on
Yes.
it
Yes.
for different
Yes.
people. That's fun. I'll
Yes.
explore that later.
Yes.
But
I've actually had that vision many times because he's given me many keys to give out to people. And
yes.
I often think of that key ring. So that's fun. Yeah.
That is fun. Well,
Yeah.
Kristin, I want our listeners to be able to get in touch with you when the show is over. So how can
Yeah.
they reach you to connect with you, to find out more about your coaching services and all of the things that you have going
Yeah.
on? How can they best reach you?
Yeah, I believe I gave you my website link. So I love if anybody wants to just even hop on like a 20-minute connection call in my link, my website link. It does say, I think it says Hope Unlocked Connection,
Okay.
because I'm all about unlocking. So of course, Hope Unlocked. Do like a 20-minute connection call, see if it's something that might be in alignment for both of us. And I'm on Instagram, renew.wings. My coaching business is New Wings Coaching. And Facebook, again, I think it's Renew Wings. You can find me Kristin Kurtz as well. I love posting encouragement, anything to call people up and bring them into hope. My email is Kristin, Kristin, Kurtz, Kurtz, at newwingscoaching.net. Very long email.
And
So,
friends,
yeah,
I'll have all of that down in the show notes so that you can have easy access to those
yeah,
links and to contact Kristin to get in touch with her to see if you'd like to carry the conversation
yeah,
further. And with that, Kristin, I will say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for
yeah,
joining me on the show today. This has been a beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful for it
yeah.
and
Thank
just
you.
so grateful to have a new friend.
Yes, I love it. I love everything that you've shared today too. I'm like, wow, this is so good. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey friend, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's my pleasure as always to be here with you. If what you listened to today resonated with you, if you enjoyed listening to the show, do me a favor. Go ahead and like and subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. Those reviews are so helpful. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate each and every single one of them. And go ahead and share this episode out with a friend. Invite them along for a walk through the Word, and let's enjoy that daily bread together. See you tomorrow.